Friends, today we're going to talk about Florida and representation and how Florida has very little of it in even the loosest definition of the word. So today we're going to do that by introducing you to my new friend, May Thach. May is a candidate for state representative in Florida, and boy is she an awesome human being. Look, you folks across the country, across the world, told us you wanted more very specific, preferably living examples of fight and progress you can see and touch and feel and vote for. And in the second batch of conversations with our best friends at Run for Something, we are giving you more and more of that. And that's really exactly who May is. This is a fucking great conversation. I'm really just such a fan. May, like everybody else in the series, is sourced from the Run for Something pipeline and graduating classes. She and all these other folks are the next generation of leaders if we will have them, if we will support them and recruit them and support them and vote for them and then hold their feet to the fire, frankly. If these conversations inspire you, please do three things. One, find out what office you or some other actual young person you love can run for something at runforwhat.net. Number two, find and support incredible candidates like May, endorsed by Run for Something and other amazing organizations that we love at whatcanido.earth. And three, please share it. I can't think of a single person who wouldn't benefit, whose day wouldn't be a little better by listening to May talk about what she gives a shit about. So please share these conversations with people who need them, because if you and I need it, someone else definitely does too. As always, shoot me any questions, feedback, cookies at questions@importantnotimportant.com. Let's do this. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and why you're running and what you're running for.
So my name is May Thach. I am running for State House District 61 here in Florida. And for me, my family immigrated to our district when I was 8 years old. And I grew up here basically in the district. I went to all the public schools, a proud graduate of the public school system in our county. I didn't go too far. I went to undergrad at University of South Florida in Tampa. And then through that experience, I got the opportunity to serve in the Peace Corps. And I was in there, typically it's a 27-month experience, but I really loved it. I ended up staying for over 3.5 years in Zambia. And then coming back, I went to graduate school at University of California, San Diego for my graduate degree. And then I've been back home since the pandemic, been working abroad right previously, and I was really hoping to continue the work, but it led me back home here, and I've been working in the nonprofit space within the reproductive justice sector the past 5 years. Awesome. And all that work really then led me to here, which one of the big things we do at my nonprofit is we engage with Asian American Pacific Islander women and girls around these reproductive justice issues, getting them to, know their stories, talk about their stories, and really empower them to engage with the political system in Florida, but then also nationally. One of the great things we get to do is we get to bring these leaders and advocates to Tallahassee in our capital and also in DC, talk about the stories and the issues that they care about. And it's really exciting. It's probably one of the first times they get to do it. But then the non-exciting part is when across the aisle from you is someone who's not listening, someone who's not caring about what you're talking about, right? Because of the representation that we have currently in our state and, of course, in the capital. And then I saw the opportunity that's like, these are the community members that I've been, telling them like, hey, we can do anything. We just gotta get our information out there, gotta work out and vote and things like that. But then still at the table, you're greeted with such disappointment and not the representation that you deserve. So I thought to myself, well, hey, why not me? Why not be the person on the other side of the table who will actually listen to these stories, make sure the issues that they're bringing up will actually be solved in Tallahassee when I become a state house representative.
Great. We're done. That was amazing. You're fantastic. No, that was fantastic. I really appreciate you sharing what is quite a journey. And I'm glad you mentioned the Peace Corps thing because you said, oh, I didn't, go very far for school, but then you really did. Why the Peace Corps? I have a few friends and friends of friends, maybe 5 or 6 folks who I can say I confidently know pretty well, who've all done it and have said, no question, it was the most formative part of their lives. Why did you do it, and why did you decide to stay even longer?
I agree with your friend too. I love the Peace Corps. I love that experience. And for me, truthfully, I started volunteering when I was in middle school. First for it was because I knew that my mom wanted me to go to college, and I knew that I can only go to college if you get scholarships. And I knew that you have to be a well-rounded student in middle school.
Hmm.
So that's why I really started volunteering. I was volunteering with the multicultural club, so we'll
Cool.
go like on the weekends doing like different community service events.
Awesome.
And then that led to high school as well, doing community service through there. And then honestly in college too, with the national Alpha Phi Omega
Hmm.
chapter. And so it's been a part of my experience the whole time that's consistent throughout my life. And during high school is when I learned about the Peace Corps because we talked about like what are some community things you can do, right?
Hmm.
AmeriCorps, Peace Corps. And I was like, oh, I'm going to join the Peace Corps. I want to go outside of the country. And then I learned you have to either have 5 years of experience or a college degree. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, I guess I'm going to college. Not that it would have changed my mind anyway. My mom would not let me just not go to college.
Yep.
That's why I did the Peace Corps. And then, truthfully, senior year, I was going to do their graduate program, whether you do a year of a graduate program, 2 years of Peace Corps, and you come back and you finish your graduate degree.
Mm.
But truthfully, senior year rolled by, I was really burnt out of school, and I was like, let me just do the Peace Corps instead. And then I specifically did the education program
Okay.
since I was tutoring in college, like tutoring high school students. So I wanted to work education sector. While we were there in Zambia, I was an English teacher there at my community. One of the things that I'm really proud that I got to do while I was there is our community school was we needed another classroom block in order to fully like equip our teachers and have students go because teachers would have to double work each every other day in order to teach both the middle school and the elementary school because there wasn't an additional classroom block for them to actually.
So when you say classroom block, I'm sorry, do you mean like a physical space or more time or more teachers or all of the above?
So we already have the teacher to teach it, but they were to double. So they'll teach elementary in the morning, and then afternoon we'll have to teach the middle schoolers. I got to help write a $10,000 grant in order for us to build the classroom block. But one of the great things about the Peace Corps that I still continue to work on is that grassroots organizing is that you have to have buy-in from the community that you're working with, right? So sure, I can bring a grant, but if nobody really wanted it, who's going to build those bricks for us to actually physically make these
Mm-hmm.
buildings?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, we were told that like don't come into your community and say, hey, I know how to solve the problem. You come here, you have resources, you have knowledge, just the same as your community does. They should bring to you to say, hey, mate, we really need this thing. And so they did. And I was like, well, you all can say that, but how are you really showing me that you really want this? And so the teachers and like the PTA basically said every family has to make 100 bricks or something like that. And then literally I went on a trip, came back, and there were like bricks everywhere in my community.
Oh
And
man.
they're like, I was like, what is this for? And they're like, for the classroom block. I was like, oh, okay, let me go back to the office, like start writing this grant because I was
Yeah,
like,
they
okay,
did
it's a
their part.
commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you asked for bricks and here they are. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I went back and then wrote this grant and then we were able to build it. Throughout that experience too, we also worked with our middle school students on like leadership and things like that, like leadership
Mhm.
training for both boys and girls. And that's what I ended up doing my second time around because I started
Okay.
traveling on the continent after my 27 months, and people were like, "Oh, what were you doing in the Peace Corps? Like, what did you like to do?" and things like that. And one of those foundations was us hosting these week-long trainings to basically empower boys and girls to like know that they matter and like the issues that they care about. There are things that they can do, and then we also train our host country partners too, our Zambian counterparts, to then have these like boys and girls clubs in their schools after they come back from camp. And so like that's kind of like the ongoing work that we did. And so when I came back for my second stint, I did that as well, and then I helped also train teachers in comprehensive sexuality education framework within the school system because the Department of Education there wanted to roll this out, but they didn't have capacity to do this with their current teachers. So I would help train their teachers and then go back to those schools, help those teachers train their teachers at their schools, and then just basically build out from there.
Thank you for doing that. It would be tough to leave. I mean, you are having such a intimate impact on specific lives.
It's also another piece of like how I view like leadership and just doing work on the ground or just anywhere, right? Is that you're never important enough where if you leave it and the whole thing dismantles, right? That I feel like you actually didn't get to do the work you were supposed to do. Because then aside from that, right, I was able to build these classrooms, but then now we have teachers who are maintaining it. We have the PTA that's maintaining the building. So it's not going empty, which is exactly what we don't want, right? That like they got this physical thing and then now no one uses it. Same with the comprehensive sexuality education framework is if I only changed those teachers and they didn't feel invested to train their other teachers, then that wouldn't then be within the classroom, within the county to continue that work. And then of course laying the foundation so then the Peace Corps volunteers who comes after me to continue this work, they now have an infrastructure to continue that work as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I see all of this work that we do is that can you say that you are a leader if you also don't have like followers as well, right? And you can
Mm-hmm.
only be a really great leader is if you're a follower yourself. Have you followed great leaders before you who then also impacted you to say, hey, this was my work was to get you to become a leader and now you are a leader, then now you have to make more leaders out of that.
I love that. Was your mom a leader of some kind?
I would say so, especially in her family. She's like one of the older siblings, and I felt like she just was able to like lead the family and always making those decisions. I have 21 first cousins on my mom's side, so
I have 30. I totally get
yeah,
it. It's fucking
yeah,
crazy.
exactly.
I love them
It's wild.
all, but it's
I,
crazy.
it
Wait, where
is.
are you? Where are you in the number?
So I'm so still gendered, right? So I'm like the second oldest girl. So basically,
Okay.
but like there's like 4 or 5 other boys in the top and
Okay.
front
Okay.
who are older, but because you're the girl, you're like are handling all
Of course you are. Yeah, of course
logistically.
you are. That's amazing. I am second, I think, second or third.
Okay.
I have a girl cousin. I can't remember which one of us is born first. We're both 1,000 now, but my older brother's first. But it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible. But so your mom had like, and you obviously like had some
Mhm.
real responsibility growing up. I remember growing up and people were like, "Oh, have you had much experience around kids?" I'm like, "Let me tell you, all of them,
Right.
all the time."
Yeah. Absolutely. But it also isn't it wild when you like see your youngest like cousin, you're like, wait, you're an adult. That doesn't make
An
sense.
adult
Like I
with a
remember
baby.
changing your diapers. Like what?
I'm
No.
not dealing with it very well at all. And I'm just like I'm turning into dust. Yeah, it's amazing. They're like all married. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, that's really awesome. That you can't fake that. And again, everybody you don't choose to grow up that way or be born into a family like that, but you can't fake the experience you get from that and from real community. And often, a lot of folks don't have that or burn into a version of that they want to escape for some reason or they feel closed in by for whatever reason.
Mhm.
And hopefully they can find a version of that, but it's really meaningful, and I can see how that would be applicable to, like you were alluding to with Peace Corps, inserting yourself and assimilating into this brand new community in Zambia, but not bringing your own shit to it. You know,
Something that someone had said that really resonated with me is that like you don't know better, you know differently. So like you
100%.
come into a conversation in that, right? Like everyone knows things differently. How do we actually work together to make the thing better that we all want to work collectively? Versus if you come in thinking you know everything, you're gonna assume that like people don't know things because you know everything, right?
Of
I mean,
course.
someone has to know less.
It
You're
sounds
not
like
gonna
you've met
be
my
very
children.
productive.
Yeah. I got yelled at last night. We were at one of their little neighborhood swim meets, and they got a ride from a friend there, and I walked up, and my 11-year-old, I watched him walking by with with like an armful of Nutella treats that he had somehow, entirely different question, like where did he get the money to buy these from the concession stand? I was like, what are you doing? What you packed your own dinner, like your own picnic dinner. I don't understand. He's like, I know what I'm doing, and I'm like, no one said you didn't like know what you're. Yeah.
Yes, the ego is very big at that age.
Yeah, and I'm sure we did the same stuff.
Exactly. We
100%.
did.
Okay, so you come back. Like you said, you've been back since COVID. You work. You started this nonprofit. Is that right?
It's actually our 30th anniversary now.
Wow,
Um,
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And so but they never had a Florida chapter. They
Okay.
did have a
Okay.
Florida
Cool.
sector, so I ended up starting the Florida chapter here.
I could see how you could go from bringing these folks in to talk about reproductive rights,
Mhm.
and going into these rooms where there is, you were very kind to say representation who's not listening, which is like best case scenario, to eventually saying, then I'll be the person on the other side of the table, right?
Mhm.
Let me be a friendly face when they walk in. Was that an easy connection for you to make?
It felt hard, right? It felt like, oh no, because we have this premonition of like who is actually a representative, who can actually be a candidate, and all these things. And I'm like, I don't come from money, right? Like my family immigrated here over 20 something years ago. Like
Yeah.
you just don't see that kind of trajectory. And so you don't think, no, you can only be doing this, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is bringing advocates to the Capitol. You just don't see it. But then I'm reminded again, like I've done a lot of things for the first time already. Why
Mm-hmm.
not this be the first to, right? I'm the first to go to college in my family, first to go to the Peace Corps, first to go to graduate school and all this stuff. So it's like, what's another first if you already done a
Well,
few
you're
firsts?
already crushing it. It's like, why not? Uh, I was talking to one of my children about that kind of idea more recently about building confidence that you can do things if you take the time, which takes a moment as you're grown up, to look back and realize you have done other things for the first time. Maybe not the first time in your family, but your first time on a bike, your first time, whatever. Like you can use those. Sidetrack. So you decide to run. How did you get hooked up with our dear friends at Run for Something?
When I was, thinking about it, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
should I, all these things. And so you're looking at all the different programs and things like that to say, like, okay, we're going to a thing and like, hopefully this will tell you, like, okay, you should do it. And like,
Mm-hmm.
Run for Something was one of those organizations that like I found online.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like looked through their work and like looked through their premise. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. Like, you have to run for something. Like, you see the
Mm-hmm.
issue in your community. Like, just go and do it, right? Let's just
Mm-hmm.
try. And I think that's the whole, honestly, like the whole, those of our campaign is let's just try, right? Let's just give
Mm-hmm.
ourselves a chance. Let's like just do it because there is no other option. People always ask me, they're like, oh, why? Like, why would you do this? It feels like everything's against you. But I'm like, well, I already know what exists now and I don't like it. Versus if I do try, there's a potential chance that I will like what I see because I'm working towards it, right? I'm
Sure.
fighting for
And you're not someone that's coming to this from a purely academic perspective or theoretical perspective. Like you said, you're in a lot of these rooms. You can imagine what that looks like, even if you haven't done that job. But clearly, again, you've done other jobs for the first time. You can do this. Who are some in this
it.
journey and in the community organizing you've been doing? Because that's really what it is here, especially starting
Nope.
Florida's first chapter. Who are allies you have relied on, people, groups, lawmakers, whoever it might be, other nonprofits along the way, um, that are doing work? It's the best way to phrase this: doing work that when you are elected,
Nope.
you're going to be able to lean on them.
So right now, already in my nonprofit capacity, I work with the reproductive justice entity
Mm-hmm.
coalition, Floridians for Reproductive Freedom,
Okay.
and so that coalition itself is a statewide coalition just full of like organizations, but also advocates, leaders, lawyers, and things like that. Folks are working to make sure that we have reproductive health care and reproductive access within our state. And so this is just for me, truthfully, even though as I grew up in Florida, I was politically engaged personally, right? But people around me, like the people in my community, weren't engaged because no one really was engaging with us on those issues as an Asian American growing up. So I really wasn't attuned. Yeah.
That's such a specific point you just made. I wasn't engaged because no one was engaging with us. That is so that is the function of the whole thing. If no one's, I was having a whole discussion with someone else about how few rural neighborhoods, which Florida's got a million of, and I'm in Virginia, in Western Virginia, we have a million of people who have been like, no one has ever knocked on my door, ever,
Yeah.
right? And so, again, it's 2026. Sure, you could engage online or this, but there is something missing and often on purpose. So I love that.
Mhm.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that is so
No,
meaningful, right? I wasn't engaging. I'm a young person, of course. You have other things going on, but because no one was engaging with me and often on purpose.
and I think that's the piece too around, even again, like coming back to the campaign, to tell myself is that if we hear as young folks that's like, oh, this doesn't work, voting doesn't matter, we're not going to get these changes, and all of this like very negative things are surrounding like the youth or like the young voters,
Mm-hmm.
is like, well, I'm a young person and
Mm-hmm.
I believe in the end we're like, we can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just got to organize ourselves. I'm a young voter, like I'm a young voter, like I'm a voter too. I'm not
Yeah,
just a candidate, I
sure.
also vote. So I also have to do this piece as well. And so it's kind of like if you're a young person and then you see me, you say, well, she's also young. So how did she see this? And like
Mm-hmm.
not think that everything is despair and everything is,
Mm-hmm.
in hell basically. But I'm like, well, I don't want to stay here. So that's why I'm doing stuff. And that representation does matter. Because again, now you feel maybe hopefully a young person can feel comfortable engaging with this process for the first time because they're seeing, hey, there's other young folks that come to this thing, or hey, there's other things that I can do aside from what I'm doing now. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's a big piece of our campaign and our work as community organizer is go to people where they already are, right? Instead of
Sure.
trying to invite them into this space where they might feel certain ways or they haven't been engaged with, let's go to where they are and say, hey, all the things you're doing now, this is how this also our government can help with this, or this is how we can still engage with this politically. Because 9 out of 10 times, whatever you're doing now is politically motivated,
Mm.
even if you don't see there's a straight line to it.
It feels cliche sometimes and lazy and ineffectual when someone's like, well, I don't do politics. And it's like, do you do fire departments? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, do
Yeah.
you like roads among everything else? But also, do you, like you said, do you like reproductive rights? Like roads and fire departments seem so simple and such a gimme. They're not, but also there's much more that people deserve that are being deprived from them. And that's where you have to engage. Like you said
Yeah.
you're a voter too, right? You have, since you, uh, who engaged with you first? Let's connect the dots there. When did you become engaged? When were you like, oh shit, okay.
I would love to believe that I'm like, oh, I'm a person who made like decisions the day of and like
Mm,
things don't just happen, like I
mm-hmm.
made it. But then during this journey, I'm like retracing of like you said, like what was that time? Like how did you get there and things like that. And I can remember always thinking about my seventh grade social science teacher.
Okay.
He's like this cool younger teacher. Like he's probably like in his like mid 20s when he was our
Mm-hmm.
teacher. So we are
But you
talking
thought he
so.
was 1,000, of course.
No, I was like, this
Oh.
guy's just really cool. He had an eyebrow piercing. So as
Oh,
an
come on,
I
man.
know you're
Oh,
like this is
yeah.
a cool person. And then so truthfully before that moment, I was like a student where I'm like, I just did my schoolwork, I didn't speak in class,
Yeah.
nothing like that. Just did my work. And then in his class alone, he would ask us a question and people raise their hand. And I was in the back and I don't raise my hand. And
Mm-hmm.
he'll actually call me out and be like, May, what's the answer to this? And I was like, oh, someone's talking to me. Like I have to I have to
Uh-huh.
communicate and like
Mm-hmm.
involve myself in this space. And then before you know it, it was like one of the big things he said too was look like don't just blindly listen to authority. You should always question everything. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait, but you're authority and you're telling me
Right.
that? Like that I felt like was such a I've never heard it before, right? I've
Mm-hmm.
never like I didn't know that was possible.
Mm-hmm.
And the wild thing was like one of the videos he showed us, which I'm like thinking back now. Hopefully he doesn't get in trouble. It's been a million years now, but it was a video like you're seeing the point of view. It's like you're like a sheep, right? You're just like walking and there's like
Mm.
other sheep in front of you, and you just keep walking and blah blah. You don't think anything, and it keeps zooming out, and eventually you see the clip is like the sheep are just walking over a ledge,
Mm-hmm.
like they're just not even looking around, questioning why we're walking, where are we going. They just keep going, and then he's like, and then he literally ended with like question everything, like don't just
Yeah.
follow blindly. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, he's right.
Mm-hmm.
And that he was like, he actually instilled that confidence to say, hey, you know this stuff already. You know the answer. You can raise your hand. You can answer it. And even you didn't know it, you can still ask us these questions, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you're confused. And somehow from that transition in sixth grade where I never spoke in class, just did my homework, in eighth grade, I decided, let me run for eighth grade office, like
Wow,
be
that's
the
a
president
jump,
of eighth
May.
grade class.
Holy
I
shit.
know.
You watched one sheep
Yeah,
video.
right, exactly. One sheet video from Mr. God Charles. Yeah, and so I ran and I won, and I was eighth grade president for my middle school.
What was your, wait, hold
You know,
on. This is
and
important. What
hey,
was your campaign? What were you promising?
oh my gosh, what was I
I mean,
promising?
a
I
lot of times
thought,
it's like vending machine, it's like, what
yeah,
moved the
probably
needle?
like I think it was probably like prom or our eighth grade
Spirit Week.
dance or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Making sure we get all that. But I do remember I had like I don't remember the brand, but it was like the monkeys, and it had like a vote for me shirt, and I wore that as like a little like
Amazing.
spiel, like I was like, this is on point. This is campaign material right here.
So this isn't your first time running for office then.
I
Got it.
guess not. Now I'm
Yeah.
realizing I was like, man, I really lied on all those endorsements. They
Seasoned
asked me running for
politician.
office.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. You have already found out that running is much easier than actually governing.
I actually really am excited for governing. Like I think that's so I think that's the whole piece, right? I think like I was saying before is even in my job now is I feel like I'm ready to move on to another thing if I can give you the infrastructure and like
Sure.
the papers that I had built and
Yeah.
give it to you and you can make and you can do it, then I'm done. Like that job is no longer there.
Hmm.
So like I really like the aspect of let's make these infrastructures, build these blocks, and then like we can then have folks come in and continue the work that we're building on, right? And that's what I think governance is all about is how do we continue to build programs, make policies that are then beneficial to our communities and continue to build on it and progressing on it based on what the people need in each moment. But you still have to build that like engagement and like that whole process of making sure because right now people don't trust the government, right? They don't trust
Or
in
anything.
governance at all
Yeah.
or anything.
Yeah.
But I like one of the things that I um has been speaking with someone before is that like governance itself, that vehicle, it does work. It's just that it's not working for the people it's supposed to serve, which
Hmm.
is the people.
Hmm.
Right? Governance as the vehicle is working for everyone else that has infiltrated itself into governance. And so
Hmm.
the people you need in governance that needs to work for the people have to be people who works for the people, right? And so when you hear about elected officials, politicians, and all these things that, oh, well, why would I choose them? It's like, yeah, you're right, because they're only caring about special interests. And so then when they're in governance, they will only work for special interests because
Hmm.
that's who got them elected.
A representative is functionally supposed to be representative of me and
Yeah.
what I need, and the people around us in this district. And it is functionally, measurably not that in most places. It's very easy to understand and empathize with that at this point. And again, like the look, are there a lot of processes that are broken? Of course. And by the way, many of them are not broken. They were designed to be that difficult. Medicaid is a big function of that. A million of them. Healthcare in general. But at the same time, you can elect people, and this is what I love about Run for Something and a lot of other groups we work with, is they go, no, we're going to put people in office who are renters, who can help people who are renters because they know what it's like to rent, to be a single parent, to depend on the first a month. Like you said, if you go into these rooms and no one's ever experienced these things, or they had kids, but it was 50 years ago, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing there. You just don't have a shot, right? At this person going, I'm going to look out for what you need inherently. So, what's day one look like for you, May? What are you fighting for on day one besides, oh my God, I got to remember everybody's name?
Yeah. I have a trick for that because I was an orientation leader. So
Please tell, oh my God, wait, I've been waiting to meet you my whole life then. Like, how do I do it?
The trick is you have to remember, like, if their name is M, the easiest is like trying to find an adjective or something that starts with the letter of their name. So then when you like think of it, you then would like, oh, let's say it's like Matthew or something like that. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
their name. And
Mm-hmm.
so you think, oh, Matthew is, let me think of an M name, like an M adjective that I can think of that will associate myself with Matthew. So the next time you see them, it could be like I don't know. I'm like now on the top of my head thinking like, what can I say for Matthew? Because I
Hmm.
can't see him.
Hmm.
But maybe he's like in math class or something. You can be like,
Mm,
oh,
interesting.
Matthew.
Okay.
But some kind of distinction because then it helps your brain to trigger back like, oh, it's M. Okay, M. Oh, Matthew. Because there's only so many Matthew names or like M names,
Sure.
right? That you can
No, I'll
go
give you that.
through.
Yeah. I am a
uh,
disaster. I will remember a face for the rest of my days on this rock, and I will forget a name the second. Anyways, well, that's great. Okay, so what else are you doing on day one while I'm fumbling around?
Day one is definitely policy wise working on affordability. I'm
Mm,
sure like I've been listening to the podcast, right? Like everyone is talking about that because that is the reality, right? Like there's just no way around it that everyone's everyone is struggling. Like that's just and honestly, the unfortunate fortunate part of that is now we're all in the same boat that we're all struggling with affordability. So it's like this is the thing that people care about and they can start to see the connection on how our government affects that directly. It could
mhm.
have before it felt like, oh no, it's this, is that affects it, but it's truly our governance and what they can do to either alleviate your affordability issue or exacerbate it,
Mhm.
right? First day is working on affordability issues. And that is making sure that we actually do something about our property insurance here
Yeah.
in the state.
Yeah.
But honestly, all insurance in our state, just because like auto insurance is high, home insurance high, renters insurance is high, because again, we have just been like we as in our current governance have just been giving tax breaks to these corporations. And so these tax breaks again, like first they'll double charge us because we're already paying in our tax dollars that they're giving a tax break to these corporations, and these corporations say, hey, we have to hike up your prices because of some inflated thing. Oh, there's a thing here or there's a thing there, so we have to inflate it versus actually putting people like putting money into your pocket by reducing insurance costs. And a big part that for me in my district, because we have the beaches, and I mean we're in Pinellas County, I don't know how
Mhm.
familiar you are with
Mhm.
Florida, but it's surrounded by water, right?
Yeah.
So no matter where you go, there's always gonna have to do something with storms, especially during our hurricane season. So for us is we have a state program where you can invest like you can then actually be insured by the state, but we could get more people insured by that if we actually put our own like the state money into the program so more people can be insured. And the more people are insured with our state program, that would bring more private insurance back into the market, into our state, because they'll feel there's less risk now. Because if everyone has a base level of like, hey, everyone has this insurance provided by the state, which is honestly for me, I almost don't like the term provided by the state because it's actually provided by us. Because we're the one that's giving our
That's it.
money
Yeah.
to the state, right? Like
Yeah.
this is you. Like you the state isn't providing it. They're just
Right.
holding it, but
Yeah.
it's your money, right?
Yeah.
So if we all have that kind of base level of protection from insurance already, then private companies can come say like, if you need additional, we can provide this. So then that also gives them confidence that okay, maybe we won't get all these fraudulent things,
Mm.
which is the issues that we have now with our insurance is both sides where insurance company will file fraudulent claims, vice versa. Some folks will also take advantage of the system and also file fraudulent claims, and you're just in litigation, and that just keeps bubbling up because every time you use a lawyer, it's going to be X amount of dollars, and it just keeps getting higher and
Yeah.
higher until one insurance company are like, okay, forget it. Y'all have hurricane season every year for like 6 months. We
Yeah.
can't afford it
Can't
anymore.
do
Let
it.
us leave. And then now we have this monopoly, and then people there are people who are like, I would rather just put money in the bank by myself, and then that will be my thing and not be insured at all. And we know that
Yeah.
is not sustainable,
It's
right?
not. I've done a number of shows about this and many, many more offline conversations. I feel like I think about home insurance 23 hours a day. We were out in Los Angeles and dealt with the fire stuff and earthquake and all this. And we talked about the Florida situation with a reporter a couple of years ago. And it really is. It's there's some real stress fractures at least in a system that is increasingly obviously under threat from all of a sudden everyone, including the state, being completely exposed. It's a lot. It's really hard and that's scary. And you go get why people go Okay, I'll just put it under a mattress or something because I don't know if I'll get it back.
Like at least then like I don't have to fight the insurance company every time to say, hey,
Yeah.
this should be covered. Like I
Yep.
think there's a piece of policy that they say we don't cover damage from windy rain. And we're like, what is a hurricane if not windy rain?
Yeah.
Like what are you actually covering then? Like
And
why
then
do
it's
I
again, like
have
you said, that's on top of the day to day affordability stuff. You know,
to?
it's like a health scare. You go, I was already having a hard time. And
Yeah.
so I am thankful that you are and so many other young folks. It's amazing. I'm one glad to be 1,000, but also so glad to be able to not to abdicate, but to be able to forcefully support and encourage folks like yourself again who go to the Run for Something website. And by the way, it's not subtle. They're like, yes, in fact, you should fucking run right now, and here's
Yeah.
what you should run for. There's no like wiggle room about it, which I love. I'm very thankful for that because I imagine it's really reassuring for some folks to go, oh, this person who gets me on so many levels inherently, who has already been through so much and been so many places and has this wide variety of lived experience, but is also doing the work in the community, wants
Um,
to represent.
right? The reason why people say like, government is supposed to be by the people for the people. And so far, on both ends of it, we haven't been engaging the people. And I think, even as someone who grew up here, I think people pretend to believe that we haven't been indoctrinated to believe that we don't matter, our voice doesn't matter, our vote doesn't matter. Like, sometimes we'll say that and we're like, no, I'm like, I'm not propagandized. Like that's just not me. That's not what I'm really feeling. I'm like, then why aren't you trying? Right? Like there has to be a level of admitting that
Yeah,
it worked. They did what whittle us down to say, hey, we
100%.
don't need you. You don't need us, right? Like
Yeah.
just live your life, try to make things work for yourself, find a hack or something like that to like live your life. And I was like, why are we finding a hack? That is not life. That's not life. For our district and just our state in general in Florida, Asian Americans are one of the fastest growing population in the state, and yet like we have zero representation, like not even one Asian representative in our state at all, even though we make about 4 to 5% of the population. And in my district alone, it's the same. We're about like 5% of the population too. But again, in my nonprofit work, where we all we did was engage with the Asian population, I will knock on doors, and I've had multiple conversations where someone's like, "Oh, I've been living here for 25 years, but no one's ever knocked on my door before to ask me what are the issues you care about." So it's like so then like the narrative that we've been trying to fight against for people is saying that like, oh, Asian Americans like they're just apathetic or they don't engage or they don't vote. And I'm like, do they not do it because they never felt welcomed into it or been educated into it? And they literally was a survey back in 2024, so not that long ago, where they surveyed people, Asian voters, and said over 40 something percent of those that surveyed said they had zero communication from either party. So no one reached out to you. So you had to find it on your own that, hey, there's an election happening, or hey, there's a presidential, right? Or all these things, like, or a nonprofit told you. It's not the party. So, like, can you say, if there's no investment in this population and then they don't turn out and then you blame them to say, oh, well, they never turn out, so why should we invest in them? So that's like one of the big piece that I am so thankful I get to do in my nonprofit space is myself and others who are in this work, we started a statewide coalition space where all we do is make sure we're engaging with the Asian population around civic engagement. Just because we know that our voices matter, right? And that the
Yeah.
issues that's happening now also affect our community. It's not like we're an exception. We're not like I don't know if you've heard of it, like the model minority myth around Asian population, where they just assume everyone's affluent, but that's not the reality. Because again,
It's
they're also
wild.
throwing everyone under the sun under their abbreviation, right?
Yep.
So it's like over 50 different countries, 100
Yep.
different languages, and yet we're supposed to be this one monolith that everyone's doing fine. So honestly, I've been really grateful to be able to continue that work and do this work. Because again, we are only ever going to be better when we all work together, right? One of the things is that like we are better together, and my whole point of it is because every time they're like, "Oh, I don't do politics. It's so divisive. It's so divisive." I'm like, "That's on purpose." Because if we realize, "Oh, wait a minute. Politics is actually pretty unified. It's unified in making sure that the people are not getting what they earned, right? That's very unified. And so for us, if we actually want the government to work, we do have to work together and figure out who is it that's actually pulling these strings to make it harder for me and my neighbor to be able to live the life that I want to
I think that's a pretty great place to stop, May. Thank you.
live. Yeah, of
That was
course.
fantastic. Maythach.com, the world's easiest URL. Everybody else is like Maythach for Florida Congress. It's like, you don't have to do any of that. You're owning it.
No.
Crushed it. Folks, you can go to maythach.com to support your campaign, to learn more about you and about your district in Florida, which, boy, could everywhere, but especially Florida, use folks like yourself. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks to your mom and your, what did you say, 21 cousins? Yep. Everybody who, like you said, you can look back and go, oh, that's what got me here. Fascinating. Didn't see that coming. That's it. You can read our critically acclaimed newsletter and get notified about new podcast conversations at importantnotimportant.com. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for giving a shit.